My ex has a restraining order against me and now lives in the same apartment complex. So my ex-wife and I had a rocky marriage. My alcoholism didn't help. She pushed for a divorce, and we lived together during this divorce, and one day I found out she was dating another man. I snapped and hit her pretty hard. I was charged with assault, spent 3 months in jail, went to anger management, and I was also issued a 3-year restraining order. This was 2 years ago. I have since sobered up, met a wonderful woman, and moved to a completely different apartment complex in a completely different part of the city, and never had any further contact with my ex-wife. I admit what I did was wrong. I paid the price, and I have since re-established myself. My current woman, who I've been in a relationship with for 2 years, is aware of this background story, which makes things slightly easier. Well, unbeknownst to me, my ex moved into my apartment complex about 5 months ago now with her now new husband, who had always lived here. I did not know this. I saw her in the lobby just before New Year's. She greeted me, and I turned shocked and said hello. She asked me what I was doing in the lobby. I said I was just coming in from work, and she told me that the restraining order is still in effect and I need to move out. I tried to reason with her and told her I'd be happy to steer clear of her. I know we don't live on the same floor. I don't even know what floor she lives on, as I don't care to know. I told her if I saw her on an elevator, I wouldn't get in and just wait for the next one. She told me she was going to enforce the restraining order against me. My partner and I literally just signed a brand new 2-year lease 6 months ago. We love the place we live in and wouldn't want to move. And it feels unjust having to move and incur financial hardship because the person I had a restraining order against moved into my apartment complex. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because last night, building management was informed of the restraining order and told us that we need to figure this out. Would she really be able to force me out of my home, even though I lived here before her? As long as I do my best to avoid any contact with her, which I'm perfectly fine doing, shouldn't that be sufficient? I work a really early schedule, and the fact is, she was dating this guy and coming over to this apartment complex for the entire time I've been here, and we never crossed paths. And she's been living here full-time for 5 months, and just recently crossed paths. Not sure what to do. FYI, this is in New York City. And now in the comments, I think in order to stay, you'll need to modify the restraining order. Think you're gonna need a lawyer, or you're going to move. 3 years seems like a long time for a restraining order. In New York City/New York State, the typical criminal order of protection is either 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, or 8 years, depending on what someone pled to, so it's not long if he pled to a misdemeanor in this case. However, I can't think of a circumstance where an issuing court would issue an order of protection for 3 years. Could be a condition of probation too. OP, are you being supervised by a probation officer? If so, you're going to want to make sure you are not hiding this from that person. I'm not a criminal law attorney, but you have some good factors in your favor. You have abided by the order of protection for a long time, without incident. You have sobered up and been through counseling. Judges want to hear that stuff. The best practical advice I can give you is that you should take the lead here. Get an attorney and get yourself back in front of the judge. Tell the judge your story first. If you wait and she drags you into court, you may be viewed with suspicion because, as others have noted, you are technically in violation of the protection order right now. An attorney in your area will undoubtedly know more about what to ask for, but if you take the lead, the judge will probably be more sympathetic to your case. Ask for the time of the order to be shortened out of existence, or that the parameters be redefined so that you can live in the same complex, but that you agree to not have purposeful contact with her. Bottom line, get out in front of this. And OP replies, at the time I had a public defender. My girlfriend has a friend that's a criminal defense attorney. I'm going to reach out to them. When it came to the restraining order, I didn't put up any resistance. I basically said, yeah, I'll stay away from her. And I meant to, and have tried not to contact her in any way, shape, or form. I think that it's normal to say that it's no problem because you can't be aware that you may live in a building with her in the future. There is no way to know what will happen. I think that any normal person would say yes to staying away from them. Again, what you should do is contact your public defender, call their agency, and at some point schedule an appointment to go in there and tell them the situation, because what you don't want to do is start another criminal proceeding for violating an order of protection. This would be your worst case scenario. While your girlfriend's friends can help, he or she is not your attorney, and may not be as familiar with the jurisdiction that you were sentenced in. Moreover, the timeline of the order of protection is odd. So I would investigate that first and get a copy of it. I mean, the best case scenario is that it's already expired and you can just move on with your life. Although I still wouldn't contact your ex who expects you to move out of your building. And now onto the update. The public defender that represented me was no longer practicing in the NYC area, but I retained a lawyer who was a friend of a friend who had experience in this area. My lawyer got references from my PO, employer, and AA sponsor. Our goal was to get the restraining order modified to a simple no-contact order with no distance requirements so I could continue living with my partner. I spoke to the judge and told him my story, what I had done to correct my past transgressions, etc. He reviewed my record, and we submitted our references. During this time period, I was crashing on a friend's couch as to not violate my protective order. The PO said that I had paid my fines, followed all the rules, and never once had to remind me of my restrictions, and so forth, and said he was impressed with my turnaround. My employer said that I was always early, never seemed to be under the influence, or hungover from anything, and even at our company functions was very open and honest about my sobriety, and didn't partake in drinking. My AA sponsor said good things about me too, how he was impressed with my maturity and openness on my alcoholism and addiction. Then the judge asked my ex-wife to speak. My ex-wife said she was shocked by my turnaround. She said that it seemed unfair to her to require me to move because she moved into my building unknowingly and that she no longer felt threatened by me. This was a shock to both my lawyer and I, as I expected my ex to want to keep the protective order in place. The judge said that he wouldn't modify the protective order, but lift it entirely, as he felt it had served its purpose, and that based upon my references, my testimony, and most importantly the testimony of my ex, that he didn't see how keeping it in place was benefiting anymore. He did tell my ex that if she ever felt threatened or in danger because of something I said or did, she could contact the police. The judge then said his main reason for lifting the order was to allow me to live in my current apartment, but advised it was a good idea to avoid contact with my ex to avoid any potential complications down the road. He reminded me because of my past, it wouldn't take much to get another protective order put in place. I told the judge I had no intention of talking or contacting my ex, and I was thrilled that I don't have to move and get to stay with my current girlfriend. So, over the course of this weekend, I moved back into my apartment with my girlfriend, and I am glad this was resolved. I think this was a good update. He realized what he did was wrong and improved. I'm happy to hear OP and X could move on and have better lives separately. This was indeed a nice and wholesome update for 3 reasons. 1. Great to hear about the turnaround. 2. Great to hear the happy ending. And 3. Refreshing to hear the justice system worked from start to finish this time. The part that stands out to me is how much OP internalized his accountability and integrated it into his actions. This is the difference between restorative justice and punitive justice. When action is taken to correct the root cause of behaviours, in this case, monitored counselling and sobriety, rather than just punish the behaviours, people can grow and change. OP's language reflected no attempts to victimize or defend himself. Rather than trying to justify why he acted violently, he factually stated what happened and immediately removed himself from a situation that threatened further harm to both himself and his ex. It also sounds like he was lucky to have a good PO, access to a good recovery program, and skilled legal support. I believe everyone deserves a chance to heal and grow, and it's nice to see stories where that happens. Good on OP for turning his life around, and good on his ex-wife for not wanting to make his life more difficult. Incredible maturity and reason from both parties. Ex-wife wasn't wrong for being concerned at first, but glad she could see change and give him a chance. Rehabilitation at its finest. I keep seeing my birth mom, but she doesn't know it's me. So she had me when she was 14, and I, 24 male, was given up for adoption. My parents told me about her growing up, and I still have the letter that she wrote me that she asked if they could give it to me if they wanted. It's crazy reading it sometimes and knowing it was a literal child who wrote it, saying she's sorry she couldn't be my mummy, but she hopes I'm happy. She was open to having contact, but we moved for my dad's job when I was 11, and then it seemed impossible to find her. But luckily I did. She's working at this small restaurant, and I keep going, but she doesn't know it's me. We talk sometimes, and she seems like a nice lady. Sometimes when she says something like, "Do you want a refill, honey?" or uses another term like that, I want to tell her. I don't know why it makes me nervous. We talk sometimes, and she seems really genuine. If it's not super busy, she's more open to talking about random stuff. I literally drive 2 hours to come eat at this place just to see her, and it's like she knows me already because I'm there once or 2 times a week for the past 3 months, so she always says hi with a big smile. But man, if only she knew. And now in the comments, "Why can't you tell her? This makes me tear up." And OP replies, "It's hard, I don't know why. Every time I'm on my way, I'm thinking, okay, this time I'm gonna tell her. It feels easier talking to her without the heavy emotional stuff, but at the same time, I want her to know that I'm her son. Have you thought about leaving her a note? Leave your phone number. Explain that you were nervous but would love to talk to her if she wants to. Leave the ball in her court and let her reach out to you?" I think this is a good avenue. I wouldn't confront her with something so heavy while she's working. If I got that kind of news at work, it'd be pretty difficult to finish my shift. Tell her, please. I know it's difficult, but you say you want to. My mum gave up her first son through a closed adoption and searched for him for 30 years. It was heartbreaking when he finally found her and turned out to not be a great person. You've already met her, and you know that the two of you get along. I don't know either of you, but knowing what my mum went through, I doubt that a day goes by that she doesn't wonder where you are. I used to long for my daughter that was adopted. I would visit a neighborhood park, watching all the children to see if I might recognize something in a child that would tell me it was mine. Years later, when my daughter was older, I sought her out. We have had a wonderful relationship for the last 15 years. She was at that park. I found out she grew up 5 miles from me. She could be craving reconnection as much as I did. I wish you a fulfilled journey and much love. She didn't give you up out of spite. It's a child who loved you. Please tell her. Because I think for her, this would be the biggest joy in her life. Giving up a baby while she leaves you a letter to meet? Hun, she loves you. 14 or 80, a mother's love doesn't change. Otherwise, she would have erased any way to contact her. It won't surprise me that you were the biggest hole left in her heart, because a mother is never whole when she lost a child who she loves. If you were too scared, write a letter about yourself with a phone number or a mail, or leave a baby photo that she would recognize with your name and phone number in an envelope with her name on it. Then you don't have to say, "I'm your son," but take the step because regret is more painful than the present, and every moment counts. The present is the only thing you can change. You deserve her, and she definitely deserves you. And now on to the update. Well, I did it. I told her. And yeah, it was pretty heavy. My heart was even beating fast. I kept trying to think how to tell her. Many of the comments on my last post here mentioned writing her a letter, just how she wrote a letter for me. Originally, that was the plan, but for me it felt like I needed to say it. Oh, really quick, I want to say thanks to everyone for their love and support, mostly to all the birth parents out there who shared their stories with me. That's what really pushed me to have the courage to confront her. It meant so much, so thanks. Everything happened the day before yesterday. I did wait for her to be done with her shift, and that was when they were closing the restaurant already, and I waited in the parking lot. We said hi when she saw me first, but when I told her there was something serious that she needed to know, first told her sorry for keeping it from her for this long, and she didn't react until I actually pulled out her letter. And she started bawling from there, like screaming and crying at the same time, and didn't even have to finish the whole "I'm your son" speech. She just saw it and knew. It was crazy. Next thing I know, she's hugging me instantly, but then she pulled back and asked if it's okay to hug me. Of course it is. And we're just there hugging and crying in the parking lot. It hit her hard though. Her legs gave out for a second, so I had to actually hold her up while she was still hugging me for a minute. What really got me was her saying to me, "Look how big you got." Also, hearing her cry made me cry too. She went back to open the restaurant up, as she wouldn't take no for an answer, and we had a coffee, ate a slice of their pie inside, and talked. So much stuff we talked about. She told me the second time I came to the restaurant, she got a feeling, but for her, it was hard to believe it was me. So that feeling she had was pushed way down. Because she told me for years after I was adopted, she saw kids that would be my age and used to think that they were me. And then she would be crying in public. It screwed with her mind a lot and made her depressed, so she didn't want to do the same when she saw me, getting her hopes up like that. She says I look so much like my biological dad when he was younger though. We talked about him too. They stayed in contact with each other in case I ever reached out to one of them, so it would be easier to contact the other. I didn't have hope about finding my biological dad, since he was never mentioned, so I'm glad they both planned for this future scenario. She told me about how they wanted to keep me, especially my biological dad. He didn't want me to be adopted, but he knew that they had to because they were just kids. It took him a long time to get past it after I was born, she told me. That's why he didn't leave anything, because he didn't want to believe he might not see me again. We talked for hours, till almost 2 in the morning. They closed at 11. She just wanted to know everything about me, but her main thing was, am I happy? Were my parents good to me? Did I have a happy childhood? And I did. I told her thank you for helping to give me this life. We both cried again. She cried the most. Everything was very emotional for her. Sometimes she would look really happy, but then get sad again. After my 18th birthday, she was hoping that I would find her. That's why she stayed in the same city. But since I didn't, she always thought maybe I resented her, wasn't told I'm adopted, or maybe had decided that it was best not to have her around. It made me feel bad for not telling her sooner. She told me it's not my fault, and I did right going at my own pace. Honestly, she is so sweet. The way she kept looking at me with the biggest smile, it made me emotional sometimes. It makes you think, how can someone who's been a total stranger your whole life look at you with so much love? It's wild. We learned so much about each other. She asked me if we could have dinner soon to keep talking, and if at some point in the future, if I'm interested to come over to her house so I can meet her husband. That all sounded really great. We exchanged numbers, and after I left, she sent a text telling me thank you for giving her this gift that she didn't know if it would ever come. My girlfriend came over, and she hugged me while I cried. I wasn't sad, by the way. These were happy tears. Everything went better than I expected. There was still emotionally heavy stuff, but I'm still glad that we got to open up to each other. And now in the comments, I'm so glad I saved the former post to come back. Such wonderful news. I'm so happy for the both of you. And OP replies, I'm really happy too. Thank you everyone for all the support. You guys made my day. To see so many people here that were invested in how things go, it's so sweet. Wow, that's terrific. Happy for you, bud. I'm guessing she'll be reaching out to your bio dad then? And OP replies, she asked me if I wanted her to let him know. We don't have to meet right away if I don't want to, but just so he's aware. He's been wanting to see me for a long time. I told her to tell him, and we can meet up soon. My first actual meeting with her had me real pumped, so I thought, why not? I want to see him too. It's amazing to me how many of us, all around the world in our cars, in bed, on break, at a coffee shop, are all reading the same news and crying or smiling or feeling a welling up of joy at about the same time. You, my friend, have made so many people cry happy tears for you, and that's amazing. However, you know what's most amazing? You have the possibility of having 4 parents who love you so much. Adoption is such an emotional subject, and it hits hard even when you know the circumstances. I'm so happy you are now on track for the best ending possible. You and all your parents have the opportunity now to have an amazing family. And OP replies, Yeah, I'm really lucky. I'm hoping meeting my bio dad goes well too. My parents are happy that I made contact with her. They still want me to ask at some point if we could all get together sometime, just because they'd like to meet my bio parents to say thanks again. I am beyond elated to read this. I'm sitting here, tears in my eyes, genuinely happy. I read your original post, and I wrote this whole post about my wife and her biological father finding her, and how happy they are now, encouraging you to tell her, and I decided not to send it. I didn't think it was my place, and hey, what if I'm wrong, and it didn't end up positive? But that smile, the one she looked at you with, I've seen it in my father-in-law, and that's where the tears come from. I know that emotion. I know that feeling through my wife and her father, and I'm so happy you told her. I wish you nothing but happiness. I hope this is the start of a new, exciting relationship with your mother. Cheers. And OP replies, "It makes you feel special, you know? I'm not a parent yet, so I don't know the feeling, but it's the fact that this person hasn't known you for your whole life, but they still look at you with so much love. They love you and want you, and it's just a nice feeling. Thanks. I really hope so too. We talked for hours our first meeting, but it still feels like there's so much stuff to talk about. I'm really happy." Oh, you thought we were done? You thought we didn't have another update for you guys? Well, you're in for a surprise. Met my biological dad for the first time ever, and I'm very happy about it. Update. Lots of you asked to let you know how it goes meeting my biological dad, and to say it was emotional is an understatement. I've been feeling so many things since this all happened. We met a few days ago. Was originally supposed to be almost 2 weeks ago, but crap just kept coming up. Work, and then I got sick for days, but we made it happen. To be honest, this was more nervous for me because I didn't know anything about him. With my bio mum, it was different because I watched her from afar and got to know her a little before it came out. I asked my bio mum if she could be there too, just because she knows him better, so it was the two of us waiting for him at this park. He was already crying before we even got to him. This guy is strong too, so he pulled me in for the biggest bear hug and crying. He told me he wants me to know that they loved me so much, and he loves me. I lost count how many times he'd come back in for one more hug. This definitely got to him, and he kept saying "thank you God" a few times, looking at my face. The feelings, man, the feelings. We had so many of them. Hearing him tell me how much they love me even back then, it meant so much for me to hear that, and not gonna lie, that had me holding him tight too. I'm sure to everyone at the park it was weird seeing 3 crying people. My bio dad said he cried so many times just driving over here, and he didn't think that he had any more tears until he saw us. When we were all sitting down, it hit me that my bio mum was not lying when she said we look alike. Obviously he's older, but still, holy crap, the similarities. He brought gifts too, which was a surprise. It was really nice. He told me I don't have to keep them if I don't want it, but he felt weird not coming with anything, and he's wanted to give this to me for a long time. One was a teddy bear holding a picture frame of him at the hospital holding me. He was 15 years old. It's still crazy to realize that. And then the other thing was a journal. The journal thing was stuff he said that he started writing to me years after I was adopted. He was in therapy, and that helped him to cope, thinking he would give them to me one day. His way of still feeling connected to me, you know? I haven't read everything yet, but some of the pages were his thoughts, and like if he's still talking to me. How he felt when they found out she was pregnant, and then the adoption, everything going on in his mind when he first got hold of me as a baby. I didn't even know he was at the hospital too. It was not what I was expecting. It really got me. I read some more of what he wrote last night, and that really got me crying. I'm sad to think how much this affected me emotionally for years, and I also think it's pretty sweet that he wanted to write this for me. We talked about his own life, which was pretty hard. His struggles with home life, and the feelings he had about giving me up, and then he wanted to know everything about me. basically with the same questions my bio mum had. I made sure they knew they made the right decision because my life was pretty great. He looked like he wanted to cry when he knew that because that's all they hoped for, and it was something that he always wondered about for years. My bio mum left a bit after we were more comfortable so we could talk more in private once it didn't feel too awkward between us. From there, he told me stories about how he met my bio mum. Sometimes he'd point out stuff he notices about me that reminds me of her, or me and him having similar likes. For example, I love eating mangoes. I can eat them all day, and that's what I bought when we bought snacks at the park. He told me my bio mum was obsessed with mangoes even before she got pregnant, and while pregnant, she craved it even more. It's just cool info to know, even if it's random stuff. It's still stuff we have in common, and we both have lots. Both like hiking, playing pool. He was a swimmer in college, and I was on a swim team in high school. We both love rock music, especially 90s. My bio dad was really open about sharing everything. Like, he was really getting ready for this meeting. He hoped it would happen, and he prayed every day to see me again because he had so many things he wanted to tell me. Overall, really good first meeting. I'm glad how it went. He's open to the idea of meeting my parents. After, I told them all about this because they definitely want to meet my bio parents again if I'm comfortable with that. Obviously, if my bio parents are too. Let's see when that happens. I don't know how it's going to feel for me. They've met each other before I was even born, but I never had them at the same place, so that'll be interesting. Me and my parents met up yesterday to have breakfast so I could tell them everything. My mom was so happy how it went. She actually cried too when I was telling them about both of their reactions. My dad was proud because he knew how hard it was the months after finding my bio mum and not really wanting to make contact yet. I'm really happy to have their support because it's hard not to feel guilty about wanting to know more about my bio parents. They gave me a really good life, so for a while, it's felt like maybe to them, I'm showing them that wasn't good enough for me and I'd rather have my bio parents. But they told me many times that they want me to do this for me, and they know how much I love them, and I really do. Finding them and meeting them was hard, but it was so worth it to me, and seeing their reactions made it feel even more worth it. Still can't believe it sometimes. I'm just realizing that this has turned into a long post. My bad. Writing this has been therapeutic, to be honest. Kind of thinking back to everything that's happened. Feeling really grateful. And again, I want to say thank you to everyone who has been on this journey with me. Everyone who sent their own stories, their love, their encouragement. You guys have beautiful hearts, and I'm happy that I had somewhere to talk about all this and receive so much love back. I just want to say to all the adopted kids out there, I wish you guys good luck and that you find what you're looking for. It's not easy at all. I feel fortunate that things didn't go badly or that my bio parents aren't bad people. And to all the birth parents out there who made this sacrifice, thank you. It's because of you there are kids out there like me who got to have a great life with loving parents. And in the comments, I'm so happy for you. FYI, if you're ever looking for gift ideas for them, a photo album of pictures of you as a kid, growing up, would probably mean the world to them, with some blank pages at the end for all the new memories that you'll make together. And OP says, oh wow, that's so cool. I love that idea. My parents got tons of pictures, so that might work. I'm so happy for you. I was crying tears of joy. My late mum's birthday was yesterday, and I've been gutted. This update actually made me smile. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And OP says, oh hey, I'm sorry to hear about your mum. Hope things get better for you. Please take care and thanks for reaching out. This comment made my day. I know it was a few weeks ago that he found out that you had contacted her, but do you happen to know more details about when your bio mother told him about meeting you? I'm very curious about his reaction to hearing the news he obviously had been hoping to hear for a long time. You said your bio mom used to wonder about random kids that she'd meet, wondering if maybe they were you, so I'm wondering if he said anything along those lines also. Thanks for sharing all of this and being so lengthy and personal about it. It's been nice to follow something so genuine. And OP replies, she told him the following day. He was out of town at the time doing a project for his work, but he flew back that week to meet me. They both told me he cried at first and kept asking her for full details to be sure that this really did happen, and she sent him a pic of me that we took at the restaurant. He never mentioned anything about wondering if the kids he saw were me. I know it was pretty hard for him though to accept what happened, which was why he started doing therapy. Thanks for reading my journey. And that's the end of this story, guys. I really do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments below, and have a good day. Bye!